And those of you who are jumping on live, thank you so much. Welcome. Hey, Niels. Wonder Woman is joining us. Hey, as people are coming in, could you tell me, hey, thanks for the hearts, you guys. Tell me what it is that you do. I'm assuming you're in business because we're talking about competition, or you're thinking about starting a business, or you have some kind of a brand or message that you want to share. So if that's true, I'm doing great today. Thank you. I had a good weekend. I had the best weekend. Okay. I'm an introvert. And Wonder Woman's a web developer. Okay. Yeah, keep tell me about your business and tell me what you're doing while I tell you about my weekend. I am a total introvert and I love my quiet time and I love my peace and quiet. And this weekend my whole family left and I had the place to myself and I spent so much time in Wi-Fi mode. Hey, Lori. Yes. Okay. I spent a lot of time in airplane mode, just getting work done, and it was so great. I just planned out launching careerbrandinguniversity.com in the spring. Oh, sweet. Yeah, that's right. I saw that you're doing some stuff in career kind of work. And is that just in Denmark? For people who are looking for careers just in Denmark? And so I got to just like plan out the next few months and figuring out, oh, worldwide, great. That's awesome. Plan out exactly what I'm doing and what I have coming up. I have some big stuff coming up over the next few months. And so it was really good quality time to just get work done and kind of plan everything out. And so the process for that, are you curious about the process or how I do that? Would that be helpful to you to kind of learn how to focus and stay on track? Hey, Billy, good to see you. Yeah, so follow Niels because he has some cool stuff coming up about yes on the productivity stuff. Okay, follow Niels because he has some cool stuff coming up about some of the corporate or the career stuff. Okay, so as far as weekend productivity kinds of things, I'm happy that you're live, Billy. That's great. I noticed you've been watching some of the replays. So in terms of productivity stuff, here's what I do. When I have a project that I need to get done, I list out very specifically what that goal is and what that's going to look like. And I really think that I've played around with different things. I didn't know how to set how to set goals like in terms of your timeline. You know, do I start thinking about like, oh, eventually someday in the future I want this thing done, or do I break it down into what I can do this week, or how does it work? So, and a lot of this, guys, this is stuff that I've learned going through Chalene Johnson's Smart Success program. So if you're not following her, I highly recommend it. But what I learned through that was to really focus in on 90 days. I am a long-term, futuristic, visionary. I love that kind of stuff, and I can live like in the future. But I have a hard time focusing in on today sometimes. And so what I learned is I can have those big picture goals, but I need to break it down into pieces that I can accomplish in 90 days. So that's what I did. I listed out this one big thing that I want to do in the next 90 days, and then I just brain dump every step along the way, everything that I need to do. So I start with, you have those big things like I need to develop a new freemium. I need to figure out the content and what this is going to look like. I need to invite people to take a look at this. But then within each of those are actually made up of a lot more steps than that. So I have my huge brainstorming list of everything that needs to get done, and then break those individual steps down into like 5 at least other mini micro steps. Yeah, there's so much stuff to do. And so when you break it all down and list it out on one big, huge brainstorming list and just write and write and write and write and write until you can't write anymore and you have cramps in your hands and you're about to fall apart, then you have your big old master list. And then you don't need to think about what you need to do. Then you can so then I kind of take chunks of it. Like, okay, what's the first section of activities that I need to do? And then I plug those in, and every day I'll go back to that big master list and look at which things I need to do today. And I actually have like a Sunday night planning time too, where I look at, okay, what do I want to get accomplished this week, and kind of mark off some of the things on my big master list that I need to get done over the week. And then each day I go in and schedule those activities and make sure that I get to those. And then kind of do a review at the end of the night. It sounds like a lot, but it really doesn't take that long when you kind of get into the swing of things. So that's what I did this weekend. Okay, if you've just joined us, I was just asking people to kind of enter in some of tell me a little bit more about their business or their brand or whatever it is that they're doing or the message they want to share. So feel free to comment and let me know about a little bit more about your business if you haven't already done that. Okay, today we are talking about branding. And when you master this, when you master branding, then you truly eliminate the competition. So if you've ever had a feeling like I've worked with some people who feel like, okay, I have this great idea and I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to push play and I'm so confident in what I do. But then put the brakes on because I just saw that somebody else is doing this exact same thing and a ton of people like that person. And I probably should just go back and hide in the hole because I don't think my idea is a good one anymore. Because we're worried about the competition. Or I have other people who've talked to me about their business and they said, well, yeah, but I was talking to this person and then they ordered from Amazon or eBay or whatever instead of buying products through me. And they know that I can hook them up with this, but they went somewhere else instead. When you master your personal brand, you really start to eliminate all of those things because the real deal is that people are connecting with you because of you. They're not connecting with you because of your product or because of your service. They might want some of those things, but they want the solutions that you provide, and they love and adore your personality in the way that only you can do it. No one else can be you. And when you can step into who you truly are, who you really were created to be, and you find more of the courage and you can really step into who you're created to be and who you really are. Like when no one else is in the room, when everyone else is gone and you feel so alive and so you, and then if we worry about competition, we won't grow and do what we do best. Amen. And I think we can bring that full circle too, because I'm saying when we do what we do best, then we don't even have to worry about the competition because nobody else can be you. No one else can do you the way you do. So you've got to live. So there's one of the quotes from Shalene that really struck me one time. I was at I think this was at her Smart Success event. Hi, Sheila. One of the things that she said was, be you so boldly that it turns people away. And that just means that you're being so truly yourself that the people who don't resonate you, who don't connect with you, and who won't get you anyway, are not interested in what you have to offer. The more that you can step into who you truly are, it not only attracts more of the like-minded people who are going to fit with you, it makes you and your customers, helps you develop a better relationship so that you're more solid and they're easier to work with because they're the kinds of people who you truly love. And it allows people to just sort of be magnetically attracted to you instead of feeling like you have to go out and get every single one and build those relationships one at a time. So we're going to talk a little bit about, thank you for sharing that, Sheila. We're going to talk a little bit about branding and what that means and how to sort of get started with it. So I spent about 15 years in the health and wellness field. I have a master's in business and my degrees were marketing and management. And my very first professional job, so like outside of just my high school and college retail stuff, I had an internship in college and then went on to full-time employment doing marketing. And I also was involved with some branding initiatives with our university. And thanks, Niels, for sharing that too. I appreciate it. And so one of the things that, I learned a ton through that process because it was the real world stuff. And one of the things that's different about the way, hey, Patrick, welcome. One of the things that's different between corporate branding or like that branding for big organizations versus personal brands, there's a huge difference. So corporate and to some degree, the personal brands really have a huge advantage. So corporate brands have to sort of think really hard about what they want to be and what message they want to portray and who they want to reach and all of that stuff. And personal brands have to give thought to that too. But corporate brands have a whole lot of people that they have to coordinate into creating and being on point and consistent with that corporate brand. So they're going to sit down and think about, okay, when someone sees my Nike swoosh logo, what do they want to think about me, and how do they want us, or what words do we want to come to mind when someone sees our logo? And I'm really not going to talk much about logos and graphic design today. I'll talk about that in just a second, but we're not going to dive real deeply into that today. So corporations then have to get everyone on board with that, and they have to develop their policies for what the organization is going to be like, and their value statements and what's really important to them. And they put a lot of time and energy into all of that stuff, both in creating it, but then spreading that message throughout the corporation and getting everyone else on board with it. And if they're a really big organization, they have lots of departments who need to get on board with it. And it really is about understanding the personality and the values of the organization. When you have a personal brand, it's different because it's about communicating who you are. And so I think we need to, that sounds good. You know, hey Amanda, you're on. I just thought I got a message from you. Sorry I didn't answer. I was busy. So when you have a personal brand, you're diving. It's easier because you're living out who you are, but it's harder if you're not already living out who you are. Does that make sense? So personal brand has the advantage in the sense that they don't have to communicate. You don't have to think about like all of your values, probably. I mean, we maybe are doing that in terms of personal development and personal growth anyway, and going through like really what's important to me and what are my priorities and what do I stand for and all of that stuff. But it's a little more innate, and it just comes out in what you communicate. And so your way of improving your brand is improving yourself. But the challenge in it is really diving deeply into who you are and understanding what you bring to the table and how you communicate that message. And when you can, personal brand doesn't have the layers of decision. Amen. That's I think a really good way of putting it. That makes a lot of sense. You don't have all those decisions that the corporate brands do, but a personal brand is going to be just a little more automatic and innate to who you are. But the challenge in it is really pulling that out of yourself if you're not already clear on it. And I don't know that anybody, when they very first start out their business, maybe this is a question, I don't know, what do you think? Because I'm not sure that anybody, when they first start out their business, they really know exactly what their personal brand is. I think that's a challenge for people to define, and I think that it takes some time to sort through, like, how do I communicate this stuff? And one of the reasons for that is because we can't see ourselves from the outside, right? We're kind of on the inside looking out, trying to look back in the mirror and figure out what our brand is and what our message is. And that can be really difficult. It is their purpose statement as a personal brand. Yeah, I think, I'm interested more in your thoughts on that, and feel free to say more about what you mean, but I think creating a purpose statement can be a part of that. But when you go to sit down to create a Facebook post, or you're going to come on Periscope and do a video, I think that's where our brand is communicated. That's one of the ways that our brand is communicated. And going back to the purpose statement is really that core, and it kind of stems from there. And when you're doing that authentically, I mean, when you're doing that well, then you're living authentically and you're communicating authentically, right? And it's one of the reasons that I love Periscope so much, because I can get to know people right away. There are so many people, tell me if you've had this experience, where you see their profile picture and you kind of make some assumptions about who they might be or what they might be about or what their personality might be. And then you watch them and they're completely different. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But our profile picture is just one tiny little snapshot, and it should be consistent with our brand, but it's like one tiny little piece of the puzzle, and it doesn't communicate a lot all the time. See, and that's why I love it, because I made some awesome connections and friends on here. Yeah, core principles that guide all decisions. for your brand is related to your purpose statement. Okay. And so the, shoot, I was just going to say something related to, Neil's comment. Yeah, you can make really great connections right away because you see people and you kind of get an idea about what they're all about and whether they're really authentic or not. So you can be watching this right now and in your head, you're deciding like, is this full BS? I mean, is she just making stuff up as she goes, or does she legitimately know what she's talking about? And is she confident in what she's communicating, or does she look like she's scripted a bunch of stuff and she's just kind of reading through it and she's not really confident? I mean, you're making those kinds of decisions as you're watching me or anybody else on Periscope. So those are all ways that we communicate our brand, and the confidence piece that comes along with it takes time. If you're not comfortable on video or not comfortable live broadcasting, I mean, everyone, first time here, thanks for joining us. I'm glad that, and thanks again to Niels for sharing it. Okay, so let's talk about graphics a little bit and how that plays a role, because I told you I'm not going to dive deeply into that, but I do want to touch on it because everybody thinks, when they think of branding, they think logos, colors, and fonts and images, right? And that is definitely a piece of branding, but it's a part of how we communicate it. So, oh, cool. Okay. So you started following me because there's some alignment between what you saw in my bio. So we had some commonality, and it was enough, and it fit with where you're headed, and it was enough to at least pique your interest, right? But then if you got on and you felt like I was really fake and phony and I didn't really know what I was talking about, or whatever, then you would decide pretty quickly that you weren't going to come back on another scope. And I know you've been on lots of them, so I appreciate it. Because that tells me that there's not only commonality between the two of us, and that's what we use. That's like, so if you think of a target, a lot have been deleted from my list. Don't delete me. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm serious. Don't delete me. Okay, so if you think about your brand as like a target or like a bullseye or an onion, there's the center, there's the core. I'm safe, thanks. There's the core, and that's like the purpose statement that Patrick mentioned. And so I just like being deleted. Yeah, and don't ever block me either. Side note, okay, so I've been on some before where, like, you know, you go to block somebody or even reply to people's comments when there are lots of comments coming through, and you hit the thing to reply or whatever and you get the wrong person. I've definitely commented back to some people who, like, it made no sense at all. I don't even know what they said, but I'm sure my reply back to them made no sense at all because I hit the wrong person. But I've always thought about the people who get blocked on accident, and what do you do? I mean, can you ever get back into that? Does anybody know? I don't know. I'm just a little paranoid about getting blocked. Okay, so branding, at the core of it, at the center, is like the purpose statement that Patrick mentioned, right? That's like or companies might call it a brand promise. So that's okay, you can unblock them. I don't know that they can do anything about it, though, right? Like, if you don't know who they were, you go back and unblock them. I've done that by accident. Okay. Oh yeah, you could figure it out. Okay. Thanks. Okay, so at the core of your brand is the brand promise, or if you're a personal brand, it's your personal statement. That's the core. That's the meaning, the value, the meat of it. But then as you work your way out through the layers of the onion or the bullseye or however you want to picture it, that's how you start to communicate your brand. So every post, every message, every Periscope cannot be centered around that very core centerpiece about your purpose statement or your brand promise, right? I mean, I can't come on and just say, I love Jesus and I want to help people live their best life. If every one of my scopes was about that, you would quit following me. I have to have more than that, right? And so that's where we get farther out on the layers. That's also where the graphic stuff is, the images and the fonts and the colors that we use, because those are all ways of communicating what our brand is. And Neil's point was perfect too, because your bio is another element of that. And it all is a way of communicating who and what you are at the core. So let's talk about a little bit more about how you do that as a personal brand. Does that sound okay? To everybody, everybody. You still with me? Um, okay, so one of the ways that we start to develop our personal brand is by identifying, figuring out our own personality. And so it takes some self-reflection because it's not only about your values and what you believe. Remember that that's the core. But as you start working your way out, the layers out, then it's really about your personality and how you communicate. So, and again, this is where I love Periscope because it's so much easier to really pull that out of people and to really see what their true brand is. But it's also been helpful for me to figure out what I care most about and what I want to talk about and what my personality is. Because once you get over that initial like anxiety of, hitting broadcast and who's actually listening and who's on and whatever, once you get over that, then you can sit in a room by yourself and talk to your phone and just be you and share your knowledge and share your information. And you should be sharing the content. Reflection is a big part of it and what difference you want to make. Yeah, exactly. What value do you want to add? And how can you help people? And what solutions can you provide? And thinking about it in terms of solutions that you have for people. I used to come at it from the perspective of like, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to share? And that's a piece of it. But it's also important to think about the people who follow you and people who will stick with you through wherever you're going, and how you can help them and how you can add value to their lives. If I just sat here and talked about whatever I want to talk about, then it's probably going to start. I mean, people won't be following me because because I'm not solving problems for them unless I really am and they happen to align perfectly. But I think that it's more than that. I don't think we just think really hard and come up with content ideas and then they magically happen. We have to be able to, yeah, absolutely add value to others and figure out what problems they're having or what questions they're struggling with and then help address those things. Are you creating a personal brand across multiple social platforms? Yeah. So actually, if there's one really great way to start with this is, and being able to provide that consistency is there's a system that I've developed and I've included the link in my bio on Periscope. And so you can go there and find a free tutorial video because what you can do is take your Periscope videos or any other videos that you want to create, or if you refuse to do videos, this system will still work, but I encourage you to do videos. But go through that because I teach you how to take the information that you're talking about on Periscope and apply that across every other social media network. And once I figured that out, I realized how easily I can be consistent across all the other social media platforms because I can come on video and I can talk and I can share and I can give information and content, but usually it's packed with info. I mean, I tend to overwhelm people with information. I'm a maximizer. I got to give you a lot of content, and I am just going to fill it with tons of information. That's my goal. And so I can't do that in a Facebook post. I can't do that in one little Facebook post. It is like, I don't know. And I'm much more comfortable just talking to a camera rather than writing out even a blog article because I'm going to overthink it. Periscope, I can get on. I don't have to edit. Nobody's perfect. All of my type A perfectionist issues kind of go out the window because I am not supposed to be perfect on Periscope because nobody is, right? So in that system, and again, you can find that link in my bio, but in that system, you can find out how to take Periscope videos. Thank you, Niels. I appreciate it. Take your Periscope videos or other videos that you create and turn that into social media content for Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, all of it. It's pretty cool, if I do say so myself. All right. Let's see. I'm looking to see if there's anything else. Oh, one other point I wanted to tell you, especially if you're just starting out. Anyway, if you are if you're thinking about your brand and you're trying to figure out what your brand is and how you communicate it, I would say, at least to start out with, don't worry about your business or your products or how your brand ties into your business. You're going to have to figure that out and you'll get there. But when you're talking about your brand and identifying and developing what your brand is and figuring out how to communicate all of that stuff, don't worry so much about what your product is or your business. I see so many people who are selling products and then their entire brand is about that product. And it doesn't have to be like that. So here's an example. A big part of my business is helping people develop a lifestyle of healthy habits. Because it doesn't matter what it is that you do, you need to be healthy in order to fully live into yourself and feel great and have the energy and the clarity to be present and all of those things. And that's why fitness matters to me. It's not about the abs. It's not about the definition. It's not about muscles and salads for me. But when I very first started my business, I thought, well, in order for people to join with me, I'm going to have to, talk about the exercises that I'm doing. I'm going to have to talk about show people my lunch and all of that stuff. Because that's what other people were doing and it was working for them. But what works for other people is not necessarily what's going to work for you. And that's that whole piece about being authentically you and living into your brand. So when when I stepped away, I was very afraid. Fuel to the engine to live your life at full throttle. Yeah, healthy living is, right? So if you no matter what your business is, I think figuring out your personal brand is really a separate issue from that. And you'll eventually have to figure out how you get people from how you're communicating in your content and your very initial kinds of information that you're providing about your brand or on social media content or whatever, and bring them on a journey until they get to a place where you feel like you can invite them into your business. That's a whole process in itself, but your personal brand can be really separate from that. I don't think they have to be the same, and especially in this place where we live, where people want you, not your product. They really need to know who you are first. And if you are 100% all about your business and aligned to it, and that's all you talk about, I don't think people really trust you. I don't think they value you because they don't get to know who you are as an individual. They just know about your business. And we are overloaded on sales pitches. So we're not looking for more of that. I know that. And Patrick agrees. Chris, welcome to the party. I would give you a recap, but I don't know how to do a recap. You're gonna have to listen to the replay. But we've been talking about personal branding, not necessarily about the graphics and stuff. We talked a little bit about the role they play, but really about defining your personal brand and how you dive in and really find your niche in your personal brand. So good, Sheila, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right. So that's all I got for you today on personal branding. Was it loaded with info? Did you feel like it was packed with information? Love your message. Thank you, Rick. Rick, it's great to have you on, too. I just was noticing that you were blowing up my Twitter, too. I was seeing some notifications come across, which I think I need to get rid of when I'm on Periscope. It's distracting. And I love, Rick, I love your scopes, too. I've been on some of yours, and you're giving some really awesome content and obviously have a huge following, and you're adding a lot of value to people's lives. So thank you for what you do. All right. And Craft Digital, tell me what you do. We missed the intro. So here's a little, let's do a little plug for your businesses. Why don't you tell us again, we did this at the beginning, but for those who joined in later, or if you want to send us to a website or an opt-in that you have, why don't you go ahead and put a comment in and tell us a little bit about that. And we'll see where everyone's coming in from or what you do. UX consultant. I'm not familiar with UX. So tell me more about that. Or where could we find more info about you? Other than your periscopes. Are you doing periscopes? Are you scoping? Because you should be. In my humble opinion. What else do we have? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? You have not scoped yet. Okay. Well, you can do it. Don't be scared. Just do it. No. Okay. Don't be scared. No scopes yet. Okay. I think that might be you scoping. I think that might be my next scope. It might be, I think, like a how to get started and how to get over the scared stuff. I specialize in working with public speakers to help them attract clients online. Oh man. And you're listening to me speak. Yes, please. Okay. Okay. I'll make that my next scope is how to get started. He just laughs. That's all he says. LOL. Oh man. Okay. Well, thanks you guys for showing up to the party today. My next scope, I'll do it tomorrow. It'll be around the same time. And because whatever, you're great. And see, now he feels like he has to give me feedback. Just kidding. All right. Well, thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. I'll accept the compliment graciously. All right. So tomorrow I will do a scope. We'll do some ins and outs of getting started. Free corporate captives from their cubicles through leadership training. Amen. By thanks same time. I loosely say yes because I have 2 kids. This is their nap time, and some days that goes well, and some days it doesn't. So if I'm not here, it's because nap time is not going well. And but otherwise, yeah, that'll be the plan. Around 1 or 1:30, something like that. Okay, that sounds great. Thanks, Glenn. Oh, good. Good. Thanks. Well, I will see you guys on tomorrow then, all right? In the meantime, start working through your nervous Nellies about scoping and come ready with your questions or your concerns about jumping on your first scope so that we can have a conversation about, and I'll also give you some tips for how to do them efficiently and effectively. Yeah, amandabentow.com/system. Thank you for popping that up there, Patrick. Because one of the reasons that I want you to do scopes, look at me, is because I want you to be successful in your business. But if you go through, so opt in at that link that Patrick just put up there, or it's in my bio, if you missed it, and that is how you can create that. I get a little excited about this. Okay. I have a system for you, and I'll teach you how to take your Periscope broadcasts or any other videos that you do or any blog posts that you write and turn that into content that you can put across all social media networks. Alrighty? That's why you need to be on Periscope. One of the reasons. Okay, so tomorrow, bring your questions and concerns about Periscoping. Those of you who are already doing it, come back because I'll have some tips about how to do it well, at least in my opinion. And part of that's not just what I do, but what I see other people doing as well, and how to build a following. And you can also, I'm sure you have great tips for those of you who are already doing it. I'm sure you'll have great tips that can help everybody out, because this isn't just about me. This is two-way communication, which means we can build a whole community around this. We can all help each other out. Okay? All right. Later, Gators. I'll see you tomorrow.